What up, my people? Flash Beats back for another video. Looks like it's starting to round into form. Philadelphia Eagles have now selected both their their defensive first, and then their offensive coordinators. We got Vic Fangio. A move, like I said before, I'm not necessarily a big fan of. I don't expect what we're going to see to look much different from what we've watched in the last 2 years, unless maybe there's just some upgrade with the talent. I mean, it's still going to be defenses that are not my ideal defense. But, if they still work, I'm going to support. Of course, we're going to be there. Can't help it. Hopefully, this isn't a learning experience. Now, with regards to the offensive coordinator, we find out that Kellen Moore, the former offensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Chargers last year, and then we know him more so from being the offensive coordinator of the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I'm going to say this here. I didn't rush to put this video out. I mean, I got this information, obviously, yesterday. I wanted to just double-check some of his offense, do a little bit of research before I make this. Now, I do remember his offense and was somewhat impressed with it in Dallas. I see that there's going to be some things that he does that I will like, that I was kind of like hoping, would be incorporated in the Eagles offense. Some things that I think would help the offense. Like there's much more under center plays. Jalen Hurts was hardly ever under center under Brian Johnson. So that should be an improved running game. In the passing game, there's much more creativity and much more motion. The screen plays are better executed. Check downs are more clearly there. When I watched the way he set things up for Justin Herbert, the problem with Justin Herbert's offense, and some people who may not like this move may judge it based on the Chargers. Problem with the Chargers was their offensive line. Their offensive line is pretty bad. So Kellen Moore should be much more successful here. I don't know what's going to happen with Jason Kelce. I got this feeling, though, because Jason Kelce hasn't officially said what he was going to do, that he's probably going to come back. Like if a guy is just out, I think he would have just said, I'm out, I think he has this thing with him where he doesn't want to go out the way we went out last season. Though he does support his brother better than I ever would. I wouldn't care. If I had an older brother in the league, I wouldn't go to his games. I damn sure wouldn't wear their team's jerseys or whatever. But hey, and I do have an older brother. I wouldn't do that. We would just be competitive, But I have no problem with him out there doing that stuff. Like him and Taylor Swift, two Eagles fans is out there just wilding with the Chiefs. I need them to lose today, okay? So, whatever. But I got this feeling he'll be back. But my point is, I believe with our offensive line, Kellen Moore's, offense will thrive a lot better. One knock against him is people believe he doesn't run enough. This is what you hear from Cowboys fans. But really, when you look at the numbers, that isn't necessarily the case. There are years where Kellen Moore, probably passed the ball 57% of the time. That's what they're probably talking about. But if you look at the last year before he left, he actually ran the ball or passed the ball only 51% of the time. So the Cowboys actually ran 49% of the time some years. So that kind of fluctuates, I guess, depending on how things are going. And I understand how that goes. So you can get either version of a Kellen Moore on offense. Ideally, probably wants to pass. I mean, most of these guys do these days. For me, what's important isn't so much whether or not you're running and passing, more than when you're running and when you're passing. I don't like just passing against teams that are great against the pass and bad against the run. Like, I don't like that. That's what me, right? I don't just have a problem with just like passing in general too much or running in general too much. My thing is all for, I'm a big ardent student of Sun Tzu and the Art of War, and I believe the principles of the Art of War. The best coaches know how to apply those principles to football. You see, in the Art of War, Sun Tzu, he considers the when you're out there in the battlefield, he considers the conditions of the field, meaning weather, conditions of like the actual fighting, like the battleground, you know, whether it's day, whether it's night, whether it's cold, whether it's warm, whether you have the high ground or the low ground, all these different things. So, so in other words, you analyze your opponent. If your opponent is, say, 28th in the league against the run, but he's second in the league against the pass, you go in there with a plan to attack their weakness. So in that game, you want to run the ball, right? Generally, unless you see some type of advantage that you have over them, then you exploit the advantage that you have over them, or exploit the weakness of the opponent. Those are the type of coaches I like. I don't like a coach that is predetermined to do what they're going to do, regardless of the opponent, and then they force something. That's when disaster happens. You don't bust your head into a brick wall willingly. Those are the types of things I look for. And the only critique I would have of Kellen Moore when I watched him with the Dallas Cowboys is sometimes he would pass in situations where you really should run. I don't like, empty backfields and all that kind of stuff on like 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 1. I don't like that kind of stuff. So my concern more so is situational play calling. What are you doing situationally? Those are the things I'm talking about. But just general, his offense, I have no problem with. I think it's a superior system to what we were running previously. So from that standpoint, I don't have an issue. Now, so I don't have an issue with the hires. Though I would say on the defense, it still isn't my ideal defense, but I've kind of resigned to the fact that this organization is not going to hire my type of guy. They're not going to go get a Rex Ryan or anyone who has that mindset, or like Steve Spagnuolo. They're just not going to get that type of person. So it is what it is. Now, when we're talking about the organization, and this is kind of what I wanted to get to, I still don't understand the moves that they're making overall organizationally when we're talking the long-term ramifications. I don't quite get it. Hiring or keeping Nick Sirianni for me, what I should have done was I should have checked Nick Sirianni's. I should have checked his contractual situation. That's what I should have done, because that kind of plays a part into the thinking that I'm having here. One second. His contract here. Okay, so Nick Sirianni contract runs through the 2025 season. All right, so it looks like he has one more year after this. See, this is what I would do. I would have done, if I'm Jeffrey Lurie, okay? The offensive coordinator that I hire now, or defensive coordinators possibly, but the offensive coordinator that I would hire now would be the guy that I'm seeing as Nick's replacement. So that either Nick fails this year, I fire him and plug that guy in, or I let Nick's contract run out and then I, replace this guy. Just don't re-sign him. Don't extend him. Because right now, you know enough about Nick Sirianni to know that he is only going to thrive if he has an offensive coordinator that carries him. He's a guy that's just going to piggyback his offensive coordinator. If Nick Sirianni has a bad offensive coordinator, we saw what happened last season. If he has a great offensive coordinator, you might win it all. So it's either one. The point is, he isn't helping you on game day, right? Not saying he doesn't help during the week or anything like that, but I don't know that I can't bring in a guy that would do those things that we believe Nick is good at. Like I'm having a hard time targeting what he actually brings to the team right now. I just really can't identify what it is, and whatever it is just something that can't be easily replaced. The things that are difficult to replace are the game day coordinator guys, because you see what happens here with the current setup is that best case scenario, if Kellen Moore comes in, totally revamps his offense, we become a top 3 offense in the league. We go to whatever you think success looks like. Go to championship game, go to Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl, whatever you think it looks like. Teams come and they offer guys like that head coaching positions at places. That's what happens. So it's likely that if this thing succeeds, you're only going to have this guy for 1 year, or at best 2 years, depending on how things shape out. And then you got to find another guy for Nick Sirianni. And that's just not a good place to be. If I'm the Eagles right now, my thinking is, like, if they didn't want to just jump out there and get rid of Nick Sirianni and start all over with a head coach, right now you should be eyeing who's going to be a long-term guy, because ideally you should want a long-term guy. And if you look right now in the league, the teams with stability at head coach are teams with head coaches that are play callers. Besides, like, say, a Mike Tomlin or someone like that, the defensive guys. You look at the McVays, you look at the Kyle Shanahans. These guys have some stability where they are, because they're game day play callers in there. They're the guys that are coordinating the plays. So it doesn't matter who their coordinator leaving doesn't affect them, because they're the guy anyway. You look at Andy Reid, who he had 14 seasons. He's really the offensive coordinator and the game day play caller. So when he loses the game day play caller, it's not a problem. He can do that. Nick Sirianni, you're talking about an offensive guy who's not a good game day play caller. So unless he learns through being around like a Kellen Moore or someone like that and gets better, I don't see the point, in going with him. So, in the short term, I guess we have a chance to be better this season. I also want to see what happens with DeAndre Swift. Like I said, Kelsey, then DeAndre Swift. To me, you have to resign him. If you don't resign him, you have to go for a clear upgrade. Maybe a Saquon Barkley. If you go do that, then I guess that's the only way I'm fine with letting DeAndre Swift go. But if you're not going to do something like that, you have to get Swift. You can't roll out there, Kenny Gainwell as your primary back next year. That would be stupid. As far as the offense go, man, I look forward to, if these guys, man, can really get this offense down and really start practicing. I think they need to probably practice a little bit harder, a little bit more, because now you're talking about instilling new concepts and new verbiage and everything. It's going to be interesting, man. I hope they can kind of pick it up in 1 year. So, we'll see what happens with that, man. Like I said, hey, go Eagles, man.